The Supreme Court granted leave to proceed when the fundamental rights petition challenging the GCE advanced level examination results was taken up for consideration today. Announcing the decision, the bench comprising of Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake and Supreme Court Justices Nimal Gamini Amaratunga and P.A. Ratnayake stated that they felt a judicial inquiry needed to be conducted in this regard.
The fundamental rights petition, which was filed by the Ceylon Teachers Union and 16 advanced level students, cites the Commissioner General of Examinations, the University Grants Commission, the Minister of Education, Professor R.O. Tatil of the University of Peradeniya, and the Attorney General as respondents. Representing the petitioners, Attorney-at-Law J.C. Valyamuna pointed out that a problem had arisen as the results had been released after using the same Z-score formula for both the old and new syllabuses. The counsel for the petitioners added that the problem had been made complex by the unwillingness of officials to accept their mistake. He further pointed out that if officials accept the mistake, it could be rectified within 10 days. Valyamuna also stated before court that some students had not received their marks when the results were released. He said that prime evidence of this was that students who sat for the Russian language examination at the Rahula Central College in Alaura had not received their results. Meanwhile, Professor R.O. Tatil of the University of Peradeniya was also present in court today. Pointing out that the problem had occurred as a result of calculating Z-scores for the old and new syllabuses together, Professor Tatil stated that he would be prepared to present facts to court in a week's time. Appearing on behalf of the respondents, Deputy Solicitor General Bimba Tilakaratne stated that expert advice had been obtained prior to issuing the results. She added that about 140,000 applications had been made for recorrection. The Supreme Court had then inquired from the respondents as to what procedure was followed when releasing the results. Appearing on behalf of the University Grants Commission, President's Counsel Faiz Mustafa stated that the results had been prepared pooling both syllabuses together. Upon considering the facts which had been presented, Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake stated that those sitting for the examinations should be aware of the procedure followed when releasing the results of such an important examination. The Chief Justice also stated that the petition must be heard expeditiously as a verdict should be arrived at prior to the university admissions. Accordingly, the Supreme Court decided to hear the petition on the 10th of May.
There has been a distortion of the computation of the Z-score, which in turn will lead to a distortion in the admissions to the university system. And the Honourable Judges of the Supreme Court were pleased to grant leave to proceed and also have allowed the intervention, and the matter will be looked into in full.
Today is a historic day for us. The court has decided to hear the petition filed by 16 children and ourselves regarding irregularities in the marking of examinations. We are truly happy about this.
Despite a new president being sworn in and a new cabinet appointed, pro-Nasheed supporters continue to gather in nightly protests against the ousting of the former president. Our reporter on location in Male, Ramesh Rugal Bandara, speaking to us earlier in the day, said that life in the capital during the day is completely different to what takes place at night.
Supporters of Maldives' ousted president staged another protest last night, clashing with riot police in the centre of the capital, Male. Demonstrators gathered outside the country's parliament to protest against the arrest of a member of parliament from ex-president Mohamed Nasheed's Maldivian Democratic Party. Nasheed, the Maldives' first democratically elected president, says he was ousted in a coup carried out on Tuesday by mutinying police and military officers who forced him to step down. Protesters shouted slogans calling President Mohamed Wahid, Nasheed's former vice president, a traitor. Police have been accused of taking bribes to topple Nasheed. Demonstrators threw money at riot police before officers began charging at demonstrators, eventually dispersing them after a 2-hour confrontation. Nasheed has threatened to take to the streets with his supporters unless fresh presidential elections are held within 2 months.
There was chaos on the streets of Male last night. Demonstrators streamed in from all parts of Male and gathered at the People's Majlis in the heart of Male, and they demonstrated against the arrest of an opposition MP. Riot police arrived at the scene and they tried to control the situation. However, clashes ensued and several protesters were injured while several protesters were arrested. This is Ramesh Rugal Bandara for News First from Male, Maldives.
However, the scenario in Male this morning was completely different compared to last night's protests.
Now for the very latest on the situation in Maldives, we now cross over live via Skype to News First Ramesh Rugabandara, who is in Male. Ramesh, it's been nearly a week or so since the resignation of former President Mohammad Nasheed. Tell us, what is the current situation there now?
Well, Shamir, there is an uneasy calm in Mali today after a night of demonstrations. However, the current unity government seems unfazed by these protests. Now, earlier today, Dr. Wahid, who is the current president, met with members of the international community, and during these discussions, he had assured that his government would take the steps necessary to ensure the safety of tourists who arrive in the Maldives. Shamir?
Thank you very much, Ramesh. We will have to leave you at that. News First, of course, will keep you fully updated with regard to all the developments that unfold from Male, who is with our correspondent who is standing by in Male, that is Ramesh Rugabandara, time to time.
The European Parliament has called on the United Nations to establish an inquiry into the alleged war crimes in Sri Lanka. According to the BBC Sinhala Service Sandesha, the European Parliament has called on the EU presidency to urge the UN to implement the recommendations of the expert panel appointed by UN Secretary General on Sri Lanka.
The motion submitted on the 9th of February on the UNHRC session welcomes UN initiatives to discuss the situation in Myanmar, Syria and also Libya. The joint motion by representatives of 5 groups across the political divide in the EU Parliament calls on the EU President to forward the resolution to the EU Executive, the Member States, UN Security Council and UNHRC among others. Meanwhile, the European police Europol say that it has busted an organized human smuggling ring facilitating illegal immigrants from Sri Lanka into the EU. A statement issued by Europol states that the operation was the result of more than a year of joint international efforts at police and judicial level, supported by Eurojust and Europol. BBC reports that Sri Lankans are among the highest groups of migrants who claim asylum fearing prosecution.
A prisoner has been abducted in Halsdorf, Colombo. Police media spokesperson SP Ajit Rohana said that the abduction had taken place while the prisoner was being transported from the Colombo High Court to the Magistrates Court. He further stated that the prisoner was in the custody of prison officials at the time of the abduction. The abducted individual is a 52-year-old man who was in custody on drug-related charges. Commissioner General of Prisons, P.W. Kodipilli, stated that the prisoner was abducted after a prison officer was attacked. The Commissioner General also stated that an investigation will be conducted under the supervision of a jailer.
On to business news now. The main indices of the Colombo Stock Exchange dropped for the 8th straight day today. The benchmark all-share price index fell by a staggering 2.21%, while the more liquid Milanka price index fell by 2.24%. Economic analysts point out that if the CSE continues to fall in this manner, listed companies could face a crisis situation.
At the close of trading today, the all-share price index was down to 5,199.98 points, a drop of 117.01 points compared to the previous close. The Milanka price index lost 102.97 points to close at 4,524.17. However, during trading this morning, the market dipped by 4%. The CSE, which has been dropping continuously over the past several months, has fallen by 14% in the first 6 months of this year.
Because of the devaluation of the rupee, no new entrants are coming in, and those who are there see their wealth diminishing, and they want to get out. They sell it at any price, reserve whatever profits they have gotten, they want to get out. In that context, there will be people, the buyer-seller market effects are there. I think there is a business confidence failure arising out of what's happening, the reserve situation, the economic situation.
Chandra Jayaratna added that if the stock market continues to fall in this manner, then investors without much knowledge of the market could suffer greater losses.
More importantly, I again fear for the leasing industry and the finance companies in this particular process. Again, there are amber lights, and I hope the amber lights won't turn to red, but if they turn to red, we must be prepared to face that too.